Doing well. So I've had a big change, or I guess you could say a life update recently. So I moved to a new place. So I've been super busy lately with unboxing, putting together IKEA furniture, things like that. So that's why I haven't been uploading as much as I usually do, but I am right back on track now that I have officially moved in to my new apartment. So I'm still in Chicago. But yeah, so things are going well. I'm getting my new office all set up, and I am really looking forward to making more videos and content for you guys. But this morning, I just kind of wanted to do a little life update, give you a little hello. And I know it's been a few days or maybe a week or so since I last posted. So I thought I would start off with a fun chat, I guess you could say, about the paranormal, because that's one of my favorite topics. Big surprise. And I love to hear your thoughts and your ideas about this particular theory. So as I'm chatting, I'll be checking the comments and thoughts over there. So do feel free to chime in and ask me any questions or add anything you would like to the conversation. So the theory I wanted to chat about today is what's called the universal theory of the paranormal. So this is a particular theory that would connect all paranormal sightings and experiences into one kind of hypothesis. So this would connect things like ghosts, fairies, even like UFOs, even angels, into one kind of idea of why these experiences occur. So this theory was written by John Keel, and he's kind of known for the Mothman prophecies. He wrote that after the Mothman sightings in West Virginia. So he came up with this concept called the universal theory of the paranormal. And one of the most frustrating things, I think, for anyone who's kind of interested in this stuff, I guess you could say, is that there tends to be very little physical evidence with these sightings. So maybe every once in a while you get like a photo or some spirit orbs or or some type of unusual type of proof, but for the most part, there isn't really much physical evidence when someone sees a ghost, for example. And besides, even the photos that do exist, skeptics aren't necessarily going to believe that, especially nowadays when images can easily be altered, right? So this hypothesis that he created kind of explains why that might be, why there isn't much physical evidence. And he lays out this hypothesis in his book, The Eighth Tower. So definitely check that out if this is something interesting to you. And his idea is that these beings, I guess you could say, so all type of paranormal phenomenon, these beings are able to move between our different spectrum of light, I guess you could say. So we have an electromagnetic spectrum, as we all know, and we only see with our eyes a very small area of the total visual light spectrum. So perhaps these beings exist outside of that visible light spectrum that we can see, but they occasionally can move between into the small, narrow area of light that we can see. So his theory is that they kind of can shift into our kind of area of visible light every once in a while. And he also spoke of what's known as like window locations, or areas where paranormal phenomena is much more likely to occur than other areas. And this has been pretty widely documented. There are some spots in the world that there have been a lot of occurrences for, centuries, even millennia. So I think that this theory is really interesting. I'm not sure if I buy it all the way, but I like to think about different theories about the paranormal. And this theory might also explain why certain paranormal events also cause electromagnetic changes. So, for example, with certain paranormal events, there's also been reports of power outages, or cars stalling, or even the hands on a watch stopping or kind of being frozen in time. So if there is some type of electromagnetic shift, that would kind of explain why these events or these kind of physical evidence is occurring. So he also thinks that these beings are native to the earth, so they exist on the earth. They're not necessarily in some kind of spiritual realm or heaven even or anything like that. So they're kind of beings that do live in our physical space. We just can't see them because we can only see a certain area of visible light spectrum. And I think this is a really interesting idea. And I was thinking the other day, I was watching one of my cats, and she was looking at a mirror. And, obviously she didn't register herself in the mirror, right? Because cats don't have the brain capacity to recognize self, right? And then I was wondering, well, what if she's not understanding that that's herself? What is she seeing? Is it just like a blur? Like what is she physically seeing when she looks at herself in a mirror? And then I was thinking, well, why can't this be the same for humans? What if there are plenty of things that are around us we just can't see because our brain doesn't have the capacity or the consciousness to process that information or to understand it? I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing, and that maybe there is so much more going on that we just can't see because our brains, our sense of consciousness, our sense of self understanding just isn't advanced enough, or at least not yet. And then I thought too, it's kind of interesting because you can think about dogs, and dogs have a much wider audio spectrum that they can hear, right? Because that's why dog whistles are a thing. And often dogs and other animals with advanced hearing tend to have kind of a sixth sense when it comes to picking up on various paranormal activity. So maybe they are able to sense paranormal activity, at least through their ears, better than we can, because they do have so much of a wider spectrum of sound that they can hear. So I think that this is a really interesting theory, and it can be frustrating too, because then, well, okay, first of all, you have to assume that if this is the case, then there are beings or entities around us all the time which we can't see, and that's really spooky when you think about it, that there could just be stuff everywhere, we're just not able to perceive them. And then also, well, what if you did want to perceive them? How would you go about purposefully noticing these entities? So I think that's kind of an interesting question too. And at least his theory is that, well, one of the reasons we can't see them often is because it's difficult for our brains to process information that we can't easily comprehend or place in a box. So if you see something that's so different or so bizarre from anything you've ever seen before, your brain just kind of shuts it out. It doesn't allow you to process that information. Kind of like cats looking at themselves in a mirror. Their brain just shuts it out. It can't process that information because it doesn't know how to put that idea in a box that it can understand. So his theory is that, well, if you study more about the paranormal, so if you're constantly kind of exposing yourself to information and visuals and images and reading accounts, you're going to be more familiar, at least with these entities. So you'll be able to kind of process that information if you do see one. So I thought that was an interesting idea, an interesting concept, I guess you could say. And maybe that is true. Maybe if you do, study more about this and expose yourself to various aspects of research, you'll be better able to pick up on it yourself. And this is often the case. A lot of people who do start studying things like UFOs or whatever suddenly have experiences themselves. And yes, it's definitely possible that the mere fact that we want to believe, or people so strongly want to believe, their brains could physically manifest that in their brain, and it could, not be real, but we all know that our brain is so immensely powerful. So yeah, sure, maybe it's just when people want to believe, they physically manifest that for their own brains. Or perhaps this theory is completely wrong. Maybe it's not sections of the visible light spectrum that these entities can move between. Maybe it's just these paranormal experiences are, oops, there's my cat. Paranormal experiences are just kind of manifestations of our collective unconscious, something like Carl Jung might believe. Or perhaps there are multi-dimensions. Maybe, we're just living in one dimension and these beings live in a different dimension, and occasionally they're able to pass into ours. There's so many different interesting theories on this that I would love to know your thoughts and know your opinions. Do you like this idea of kind of the universal theory of the paranormal that I went over today? Or do you kind of believe that, it's more just our own subconscious manifesting, like Carl Jung might believe, or interdimensional? Or is it all hogwash? I love to hear your thoughts and your ideas on the paranormal, and I guess you could say what it is, why we experience it, and how we're able to experience it as well. So I hope you enjoyed this quick chat. I'll be doing some more traditional videos in the future, but I thought I would just quickly upload a live video and keep it super casual this morning. I still have a bit more unpacking to do before I get fully settled. I have some more artwork to put up on my walls, but I am super happy and super excited to get back into making more videos and making more content for you guys. So I hope you all are doing great, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.